Welcome to the Beyond the Leash podcast, the show where we dive into the world of service dogs and beyond the leash, unleashing the truth, breaking down barriers, and sharing incredible stories behind the harnesses. I am your host, service dog educator.
I'm Katen.
I'm Bumblebee.
And I'm the pain in your butt Tiffers.
Whether you're a handler or an ally or you're just curious, you're in the right place. Get ready to learn, laugh, and be inspired because life is better with a working dog by your side. Let's get this podcast started. So, today's podcast topics is the myths about the whole service dog world. We're going to be talking about the laws, we're going to be talking about tasking, we're going to be talking about behaviors, we're going to be talking about everything that you can imagine of the myths of the service dog community, what is a community standard and what's actually a rule, all of that. So we're going to deep dive into all of that, and that's going to be the main topic of this podcast this week. So does anybody want to start out with something before I can? Anybody got a good myth?
No, I sent you a text.
All right, Katen, if you want to start.
The myth that service dogs need to be vested or they need identification on them at all times.
Yeah. So I know. So here's what I'm going to say to that. I've never heard that in like the community, but I do know that there's a lot of non-handlers out there that think that a service dog should have some sort of identification on them because they want to know that that dog is a service dog. So it's never really been in the community, but I do know that non-handlers do talk about it, and that is a vital topic that I do talk about on my main lives when I'm not podcasting and everything. And while there is a law that covers it and that says that we don't have to have anything, a lot of people don't understand the laws or don't go into it or don't even educate themselves about it. And that's where I feel like a lot of individuals that see service dogs, vested or not, get confused, especially fake handlers, because they're like, oh, I'm going to slap a vest on my dog, I'm going to take it out, and people are just going to automatically assume it's a service dog. And that's not okay.
I feel like that confuses the general. I feel like that's probably one of the biggest confusions for the general public, right? Is we almost have this expectation of, if it's a service animal, we almost expect it to be vested, right? But the reality is that's not a requirement.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely pushed on disabled people a lot, is that, oh, well, if your dog's a real service dog, where's its vest? It's like, well, if you took the 2 seconds to recognize what a service dog is, you should also probably read what the laws are. Because, I say it like every day, a lot of people would be shocked to realize that some of the things that like they say to us is actually illegal. It's like, you don't have to vest your dog. There is no ID. There is no registration. You can't ask me what my disabilities are. Like, it kind of does shock me, that like,
it's almost opinion versus fact.
I agree. It's the fifis and the tum-tum versus the actual like borderline truth.
Yep. It's we have this expectation as just, and me speaking as a non-handler, prior to my education and everything, it's I never even really thought about it until that point. I just assumed that every dog I witnessed in public was automatically a service animal, or it had a purpose in being there. And the sad reality is that's not anywhere near the truth, because there are so many people that take advantage of that, and that just makes it harder for the people who actually need them.
Yeah, I would fully agree, and again, I do feel like it is a bit of a stigma, now that people, are misrepresenting their pet dogs or their emotional support animals as service dogs. and labeling them as service animals when in reality they have no training whatsoever. And then it just, it compiles onto us as handlers, that, oh, well, your dog needs to be in a vest. And that's just like the end all be all. But then, as soon as that animal acts out, and somebody that comes in next with an actual service animal, they're like, oh, but we had a service animal in here before, and it bit like three customers. It's like, well, then that's not a service dog. Don't trust the vest.
It's almost like handlers are put 20 feet behind the starting line in a way,
I agree.
because there are so many things that happen from non-handlers and people who just want to bring their animals places, and that in itself creates the scrutiny of you guys having to be responsible for vesting animals, explaining that it's a service animal, when in reality the law says and logic says you should be able to go wherever you choose to go, because this is a part of your daily life. Like,
Yeah.
why is that scrutinized?
I feel like it's kind of like the sins of the father type, like the one bad person, like the one rotten apple ruins it for the whole bunch. They really, really do. It ruins it for everybody whenever you fake a service animal. Your animal acts out, something happens, it pees or poops on something. Like, think about like the Trader Joe's incident that happened, last year, where the lady brought her, I think it was like a Frenchie or a pug or something like that. She brought it into, what was it, Trader Joe's, and it peed on a box of fish sticks. Like, and then it's like, well, it was a service animal. It's like, no. And I remember hearing about it for about 6 to 7 months after like the initial event, and it's like still a stigma. It's like, even Trader Joe's, they look at me like I'm, with my service dog, like they would like look at me and they'd be like, is this gonna become another TikTok incident?
And then there was also, on top of that, the fake service dog that someone brought into an HEB, I believe it was, and it climbed inside the produce section because it was terrified.
Oh yeah, that was like 2 months ago?
Yes, it was.
I remember that video. I remember seeing that video and being like, oh my gosh, that dog is so terrified. Like, for a dog not only to, number one, just be terrified on its own, but then to crawl into a whole vegetable section. Like, that's... And on top of that, I don't even think that person had a collar or a leash on that dog, like, at all whatsoever. Like, from what I saw in the video, that dog didn't have a collar, it didn't have a leash, nothing.
Yeah, that would annoy the crap out of me, honestly. I personally, I hate seeing fakes out in a non-pet friendly area, but I also tend to avoid them. And with being, the advocate that I have been for throughout, the years that I've been doing this, it's more and less of me trying to keep my kids safe now, with him having a service dog and learning how to, be a parent while being disabled, while having a child with disabilities, is very like, and I'm gonna say this, it's very freaking hard, y'all. Like, I have never thought in a million years, with having my children, that I would have a child that has to rely on a dog at all. And it's like the amount of, like, oh my goodness, this train. I hate living by trains, y'all. I am so sorry if you guys can hear it. Can you guys hear the train at all in the background?
No.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm just gonna keep talking. And hopefully, it goes over it, because this train is annoying. But I just hate that, my child gonna grow up and have to learn the myths about all the service dog laws and everything else, and what is a service dog and what is it, because I even get scrutinized for what task my son's service dog does for him, because a lot of individuals feel like his retrieval task that he does for my son is not a task because it's the child playing with the dog is what they see it as, which while I can understand how it looks, but for some reason when the dog essentially plays fetch with him, it distracts him from what he was upset about, and it snaps him out of it, and it gets him to calm down. The dog licks his tears. The dog, applies deep pressure therapy. The dog does amazing things for him, and that I could not do for him. As a mother, I could not do that stuff because he wouldn't let me. I couldn't touch him. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't hug him. I couldn't tell him, everything's gonna be okay because he doesn't understand. And him being this frustrated and not understanding and not knowing how to deal with it is another battle on top of that he's learning. And we all struggle with shit. We all struggle with learning how to cope with our disability, learning how to deal with it while still trying to live an everyday normal life. And to ask that of a minor is like asking them to grow up and be an adult that they're not ready to be at. And it's so freaking hard. And being a parent of one is 10 times harder, because I never thought of it, in my opinion. And that's where I see it as.
Look, parents use all kinds of tools all the time, okay? You might be able to have, Billy Bob go sit at a restaurant with his parents and play with his dinosaurs and crayons and sit quietly and just be the best behaved child in the world. Whereas old Timmy over there, he has a tablet. Why does he have a tablet? Well, because dinosaurs and crayons don't work for him. So his parents give him a tablet so that they can all sit down and enjoy a meal together. Okay, somebody implementing a tool to help their child is simply that. It is a tool. It is not a permanent crutch. It is not forgoing coping skills. It is simply a tool that you can use to help your child navigate this world easier.
You know what? I think that would fall into the next myth that is said about service dogs, and it's that service dogs are just pets.
Well, it's not even that they're just pets. There's a big misconception in the service dog community, and a lot of people don't agree with it, is should children have service dogs? And should, the aspect of, a minor under the age of 18, whether they be 12, whether they be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, under the age of 18, basically, have a service dog, is it going to, lessen their coping skills, and are they able to handle the dog and everything? And we'll touch on this, but as a parent of a child with a service dog, it's like Tiffany says, it's a tool to use. And I don't think, and because disability doesn't discriminate against age. It doesn't care what your religion is, what your race is, how old you are, what, you did last week. It doesn't care what you ate. It doesn't care that you're an honor student. It doesn't care what you do, who you are, how you are. Anybody that walks out their door tonight, tomorrow, next day, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, they can become disabled in a matter of seconds. In a matter of seconds. And with my child being born with a disability and having to mitigate through that and figuring it out and finding his way through life, having this tool of a service dog has made his life so much easier to go through and make his life, I don't want to say bearable, but it makes it a lot easier to come by and calm down and not make situations harder.
Yeah, I mean, what I was talking about more was how a lot of people have the misconception that service animals are just like regular pets, and again, that kind of goes into, the whole, oh, well, I'll just slap a vest on it and call it good. I do feel like a lot of people just go, well, what's so special about your service dog? Like, what's so different? Like, it's like, well, number one, our dogs are not pets, they're medical equipment. They're not just here to make me feel better. They're not here to, comfort me. They're not here to, do, just random, stupid shit. They're actually trained to do something.
They're there for a reason.
Yeah, it's no different than a wheelchair, no different than oxygen tanks, no different than a cane, a colostomy bag, everything. It's just another piece of medical equipment that we have to use. And I feel like a lot of people, have that misconception of, well, what makes your dog so special? It's like, well, first of all, my dog is not quote unquote special. I trained my dog to mitigate my disability, something that disables my everyday life to where I can't live it like you.
I feel like this is something, I know we didn't discuss it, but this is where my brain is at right now. When it comes to an adult or a child, be it however, whomever, age doesn't, whatever, any person who has a service animal, I feel like a part of it that gets neglected a lot of the time that nobody really ever has an opportunity to speak on is the financial demand that is required. Okay, because this isn't a pet. I take Asher to the vet when he needs to go. Like, I take Max. I take my dogs when they need to go. If it's a shot, whatever, if it's something is wrong. Okay, and let's be honest. If I have a pet for 10 years, I might take them to the vet 5, 6 times, maybe. If you have a service animal, you're going to the vet at least 2 to 3 times a year, if not more.
On top of that, I would also add on time. If you're going through a trainer, that money, even the cost of treats.
Even doing it yourself costs, not necessarily a pretty penny, but, treats, doing it yourself, sometimes getting the help of other trainers. There are free ways to do it, but at the end of the day, there is still a level of cost to it.
Yeah, there's
It's
no free way
great.
to own a service animal.
Costly.
There's
Yeah.
not. There is no free way to own a service animal.
Nope. There's no free way to own an actual animal, period, point blank. But
Well, but what I'm saying,
for
you
a service animal,
you actually can get away with having a pet and having it. I mean, what, you buy the pet food? Okay, if you want
pet
to
food, vaccinations.
take care of them, fine. You don't even have to. There's a lot of people that really don't even care about vaccinations. People just buy a pet, they have a pet, they find a pet, they pick it up and they bring it home. And you know what? That's it. There is no financial burden beyond buying the pet food until something goes wrong. Whereas handlers are constantly required because of the health of themselves and their animal. They have to make sure that that is upkept and remains in working condition safely. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That it is a ton of money, and I think that's also another misconception that people have about the service dog world is that they're like, well, you can get a free service dog. It's like, yeah, you can, but there's a wait list that's several miles long, and it takes several years to get through. The last free organization that I tried to go through told me that the wait list for them is like 10 years. And that's with a free organization. And mind you, they don't discriminate on who needs a service dog first or who needs it more or who needs it less. Everyone there gets a free service dog. But you gotta be there whenever they open up. It's like getting the first fresh croissant at a bakery. You have to be there or you're late and they're not good. Or you just don't get one at all.
Right. And that's also what I was gonna jump into as well as another misconception or myth about service dogs is, that a lot of individuals that are non-handlers may not know this, but a majority of service dogs out there are mainly going to be owner trained due to the fact of the expensibility of having a service dog from a program. It's expensive to get a service dog through a program. So a lot of handlers that need service dogs are gonna do owner training or help with a trainer or help with a trainer. While there are some individuals that still go through programs that may be able to get discounts or they, so for some reason, like they have their own reasonings why they go through, the programs and all that, but majority of the service dog out there are gonna be owner trained or helped with a trainer because it's more affordability. And a lot of handlers, that is the way they make their income. Like Katen and Bumblebee, when she was a trainer, these two make their income by helping individuals train service dogs or even pet dogs. And that's how, us handlers being able to have a job. It's us training our dogs and getting other dogs trained for other people to make an income that way, because a lot of us can't work a 9 to 5 job, because of our disabilities are so severe or whatever the case is.
And how much of a waste of time it is to invest your time in training, because training never stops, whether it's a pet or especially a service dog, especially a service dog. But you're training someone, you're training their pet. Okay. How many people have y'all wasted your time on trying to train their pet, but the owner is not committed? The owner is not consistent.
Oh,
The owner is
there's
not.
I don't, again, being a ex dog trainer of 10 years, almost a full decade of dog training experience. I've had plenty of clients. I've had to look square in the eye and been like, hey, if you don't want to train your dog, you should go give your dog back to whoever you got it from and go buy a stuffed animal. Like, because I feel like, and like that was also part of the reasons why I kind of quit being a dog trainer, was because the dogs are not the problem. The dogs are never the problem. You tell a dog to sit, they sit, you give them a treat, and they're good to go. But it's the people. I've had more conflict with the people than I have the actual animals.
I can attest to that. That's me with Asher. Like, I'm not a patient woman. I don't have patience. I'm not a dog trainer. If I had patience, I probably would be, but I don't. Asher, he is a wild child. He is sent straight from Satan to make my blood boil. But I didn't. We got him when he was almost 8 months old, and he's high strung and he's himself. I haven't trained him. He knows what sit and lay down and all of that, but it's still a pain in the butt. I don't have the patience. I really don't. And I can only imagine. But at least I give a crap about my dog. I give a crap about him. I can only imagine the people who just expect their dog to conform and just do it
Oh,
instantly.
trust me,
Instantly.
I've had many of people I've actually had to call the police on because they're like not satisfied with how the dog's training is coming along and how why it's taking so long for their dog to learn. And it's like, well, the reason why it's taking so long for your dog to learn is because you're not doing any of the homework I'm assigning you. You're
Right.
not
You
putting
only
any
have
effort
what,
into
30
this.
minutes to an hour session,
Yeah.
maybe?
Well,
And
like here's
then,
what I do. I do an hour. So my usual dog training session was an hour long, right? So, but then my recommendation was at least minimum 20 minutes, every
right.
day after that. And I would write down what we were practicing, what we need to work on, and how to do it. And if they needed, I was a visual person. I would send them, videos of how to get their dog to physically do this.
Right.
So it's, on my end, it's, just repetition, but it's also on the owner to still do the 20 to 30 minutes a day after I've left.
Yep. And I look at it almost like my profession, like working in healthcare. You know, I can help you the best that I can help you, but I am here only 2% of the time.
Yeah, I don't live with you.
Like,
It would be great if I could, but unfortunately, I'm not a live-in nanny, and I am not your mom. I'm not going
hey,
to
a live-in
hold your
dog trainer
hand.
might be a good career choice.
Listen, I always tell people, when, I was a dog trainer, I used to tell people, listen, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to hold your hand on this. I've told you what to do to be successful. If you can't listen and apply this to your dog and to your life, go get a stuffed animal.
Like, I'm not
That
gonna
that
lie.
that that stuffed animal's going to listen to you better than this dog because you're not putting any work or effort into it. So I'm not going to put any work or effort into it any more than I already have.
Go ahead, Kate.
I was gonna say Kaiten wants to go.
So I was, and like you said, Tiffers, and also you be, it's hard because a lot of owners don't want to commit to their dog. It's a commitment issue. It's not, it is laziness as well, but it's mostly a commitment issue. If you can't commit to your dog will not learn.
I agree, and that's again,
1,000%. It's 1,000% laziness
and again, that's why
because
I tell people.
they go hand in hand. Commitment and laziness go hand in hand.
Yeah, and again, that's why I tell people, listen, you want a porcelain doll for a dog, you don't actually want a dog. Because again, I say this every time to pet people who don't want to train their dog. Your dog is a living creature with a brain. It thinks, it moves, it does everything you don't want it to.
How do you think they find the food? How do you
Exactly.
think they
The
get out of
best.
fences or get out of
Yep.
gates? Or it's
Yep.
because they're looking for something that you are not providing. They need
Exactly.
stimulation. They need consistency. They need all of these things that is a constant upkeep that you have to do.
Exactly. And you know what's even funnier than that is I used to tell people, listen, if you've raised a kid, you know how to raise a dog. Like it's not too dissimilar. Like yeah, sure there's some legalities to it, which is, to be expected, but like there's
With
not
that,
too much difference between
I
raising a
will fully
child
disagree with that because
and
my kid can talk back.
well, the dogs can talk back too. My
Well,
dog Ace talks back to me all the
I was
time.
about to say, while so I have a minimal verbal child who can talk back a little bit.
Well, I can leave the house and know that my dog is going to be fine if they have
Oh,
food and water,
but
and
Tiffers,
I
the
don't
thing
have to
is,
think.
when my dog Ace was a puppy, he tore a hole in my wall. You want to know
Yeah,
what's really funny? When I was taking care of my siblings, mind you, I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and I took care of all of these dang kids. My brother did something similar. He punched a hole in the wall. So again, it's like but again, we did fix that eventually with giving my brother structure in his life, and figuring out, hey, why are you punching holes in the wall? And it's the same thing with the dog. I realized that Ace was bored and he really had nothing to do, so I gave him something to do, and he no longer tears holes in my wall. Fundamentally, dog training and child rearing are not too dissimilar. You teach your kid and you teach your dog the things to do and what not to do. You balance your life out with teaching, how life works and, who not necessarily who's in charge, but what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And how to behave out in public. It's essentially the
Yeah,
same thing.
and what I'll add to that really quick is that having two children and having dogs and everything, it was very similar on, like, I don't want to say training, but teaching the dog and the child. It was very similar. The only difference really is that one doesn't get treats, the other one does, majority of the time. But there is like legal aspects into that, and we all know, is a child the same thing as a dog? No, we understand that, we get that, we agree with that, because children are one thing, dogs are another. There's a lot of things that I can do with my that I can't do with my child that I can do with my dog, like
no,
leaving
I
my dog at home.
100% agree with the. I do agree. I was being
No, I
sarcastic
get.
when I said
I
that.
just want to preface for somebody who's maybe coming in and listening to this. They're probably going to be like, "What do you mean a dog and child are the same thing?" So I want to preface. We
Honestly, I
understand
think
each
dogs
other's
are
stuff
easier
too.
than children
Sometimes they are.
for the same
Um,
reason. Children have opinions. Dogs really don't.
but there is a thing that I do want to get like moving on, so that way we can continue this discussion and everything. There was a video that I saw pretty recently, I would say a couple hours ago, and that I do want to kind of like twinkle into. And if you don't know about this, we can skip the topic, guys. Tiffers, I don't want to disinclude you, but you're probably not going to know this individual of dog go by the name of Brody, I think it is. Brody, or it's like a Bumble, I know you know.
Service dog again?
Yeah, about how this individual is bringing their dog pretty much everywhere and then saying it's a service dog, then saying it's an ESA, then saying it's a therapy dog, saying this, and this. So, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I think the dog is trained. The dog looks very well trained. It's calm. I don't think it would bother a service dog, but here's the problem. The dog is sitting on carts. The dog is, there's the way that these people are filming this dog and trying to get people, like, I understand it's for entertainment value, I understand all that, but it puts a bad name on individuals like us because of the fact that other individuals that see that video are going to be like, oh, I can like take my dog and do that. That would be a cute photo or a cute video to make or blah, 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 whatever, and to me that's just so disrespectful. To me it's the equivalence of going into a buying a military uniform off of online, or finding a military uniform, putting it on and saying that you're part of the military when you have never served a day in your life just to get a discount somewhere. Doing stolen valor is despicable. It's the most disgustingest human thing that you could ever do. But I equal that to falsifying a service dog. Like, why would you want, and I don't want to call these dogs burdens, but why would you want to say that you're something when you're not? Because these dogs work their asses off to save these individuals' lives, and it's not a circus show. We're sorry. I'm gonna say this. I am not a circus act. Do I do entertainment videos? Sometimes. Yes. Do I do educational lives? Yes. Do I mind being stopped by individuals? No. Do I talk to individuals? Yes. But I still want to live my life. I want to take my kids to go do something without somebody pulling around their foofy schnuckykins with them and saying, oh, look, it's barking and snarling at you. Isn't that cute? Instagram pic. Like, no, that's disgusting. Same as if you put on a military uniform and say, hi, I served in the military. I want 30% off of Denny's. That is disgusting. And I don't see why individuals thinks it's so cool to do. Just because an individual may not know that it is a service dog or not. Like, if I walked in and your dog was perfectly fine, that still doesn't make you not a disgusting human being by doing it if you are falsifying a service animal. I'm gonna say it. Y'all can add on it.
I quickly want to chime in that Brody is absolutely not trained. There's plenty of videos and plenty of interactions from other people that have shown that Brody is in fact not trained at all. I remember a few years back when Brody was starting to kind of get his, wings under him. But there was a person who brought their dog up to Brody, and Brody tried to lunge at him. So no, and I feel like that's another thing is a lot of celebrities get quote unquote service dogs, but they're not service dogs. They're just their pets.
Oh, that irks me.
Let me say this real quick before you go on that. So initially, when you started on this, you said this person was saying, well, it's a service animal. It's a therapy dog. It's an ESA. That right there is a problem for me, because if you have a child, you're not going to randomly go, well, this is my son. No, this is my nephew. No, this is my cousin. You don't flip-flop like that. You don't change identity based on your circumstances. You don't change the identity of something based on...
But the thing is, it's not even that. Brody would do that just to, get heat off of him. Like, people would be, on his, live stream videos, and they'd be like, so what tasks does your dog do? And I physically have seen it too, where, service dog handlers will ask him, what does your dog do? And he'll be like, oh, well, he's an emotional support animal, so I just do whatever. Or, oh, it's a service animal, so I just do this.
And that's and that's the sad thing. There are no, like Kinsey or Educator was saying, when it comes to stolen valor, there are consequences that can be implemented. You can actually, get reprimanded for that. Meanwhile, people who can't live their day-to-day lives, the people that basically make a show out of it, turn it into a farce, a joke, a whatever, there's no ramifications, there's no repercussions, there's no consequences, there's nothing.
I'll agree with that. Like, I think I feel like a lot of people have been emboldened, especially nowadays, with, celebrities getting these quote unquote service dogs. Like, let's Ariana Grande, right? Her little dog. She has a registration for that dog that says service dog on it. That dog, in no way, shape, or form, is a service animal. It is an emotional support animal. She has even said so herself. But she herself fell for the scam and will say it. I feel, I feel like it's, not necessarily up to the celebrities to be, advocating for us. But if they are going to be, they need to be doing it correctly.
They do not need to be doing you guys a fucking service, and by faking that's exactly what they're doing, because they have a platform. Okay? So people automatically will assume that what they're doing is right. And I hate that that's the way the world is, but it's the facts. Kaiten, I'm sorry that I cut off. Go ahead, boo.
I was just saying, why would you want to cosplay as someone who can't go about their day-to-day life without the help of what our dogs do for us? It's not fun. It's not. And it's not cute that you're faking your dog as a service dog. I don't care who you are. It's not cute. It's not funny. And cosplaying as someone who is disabled is not cool.
I mean, look at Logan Paul.
Look, hang on, Bumble. We're going to get into that. Let's let Kaiten finish. You good, Kaiten? I just want to make sure you finish.
Okay. Like, cosplaying as a disabled person is disgusting.
Oh, 100%. And that's where we're going to bring into our next topic of, of Bumble saying about celebrities, is the celebrities who falsify service animals. So there's been a couple of them, like Bumble has said. Ariana Grande is one of them. The biggest one that I saw that I was disgusted by, even as a 15 to 17-year-old teenager, was Logan Paul. And I would love to have, like, if this ever would ever become a thing, where he either saw the podcast, joined the podcast, I went on his podcast, or whatever the case is, I would want to have a sit down conversation with him, whether it was on the podcast or not, just to tell him the impact of what he did with his dog. Because I only saw the one dog. I never saw if he did it again with his other dogs. I've been told that he has, but I never personally saw it. I just saw the one time with Kong of him registering it, taking it on an airplane, and then using it multiple times on airplanes or other instances. I saw the one with Steve-O, where Steve-O did bring information that was correct, but he also did misinformation too, because I don't and again, I don't know Steve-O's disabilities. I bet that he is disabled in some sort of way because of the issues that he did that he did do with his career. But I can't say that he's falsifying it, but the way that he sounded, it sounds like it is not a service dog, in my opinion. It's just an emotional support animal that he wants to take with on airplanes and have it with him in a seat, which that to me is disgusting. Why would you put an animal in the seat that other people are going to use that may be allergic to it? Like, if you are going to be a service dog handler, whether you're a celebrity or you're an everyday ordinary person, do your freaking research, people! Do the research! So that way you're not sitting here on my live telling me that you got an emotional service animal that sits there and licks on you because you feel bad. Because it's gonna piss me off. Because then I'm just gonna sit there and do another rant. And telling you that you're an idiot at the end of the day. Because you don't know how many times I've heard of it.
I have an emotional support daughter who is currently eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the closet that I'm in. I mean, can I take her in public? Does that count?
I mean, she's human, so.
Like, what? That's to be determined. I think she was made in a lab.
Hey, you got to share those Cinnamon Toast Crunches, though, in order for you to have public access.
She said no.
Then you stay at home in the kennel. But anyways, if anybody wants to add on to it, you can.
Can I go over one more myth? And this one right here is a little bit of a hot take myth, but it is a myth. Your dog cannot do any sort of bite sports if it is a service animal. It says in the ADA they cannot do bite work. Bite sports is a completely separate issue.
Though, I'll say this, I don't think a service dog should be learning how to bite, period. Whether that be on a dummy, whether that be on an actual person, it shouldn't be learning how to bite, period. That's just my hot take.
And that's understandable. And I'm just stating what the law says. Does that make sense? I'm not stating
that makes sense.
I'm just stating the law.
That makes sense. So, hang on one second. You guys can continue the conversation.
It's okay. The difference between bite work and bite sports. Bite sports is fun. The dog is having fun. The dog is not actually displaying aggression. In bite work, the dog is displaying aggression.
But the thing is,
that is why there is that distinction between that two, and which is why in the ADA it only covers bite work.
But the thing is, Kaiten, I've seen plenty of working canines that are bite trained that have fun with that job. Again, it's still a job. It's still supposed to be fun for them. Again, it's reinforced.
Oh, 100%. It's a self-reinforcing thing. Especially when it comes to dogs like Malinois.
Yeah, and again, I'm just of the very firm mind that, I don't think service dogs, working canines are completely different, but service dogs or assistance dogs should not be learning how to bite anything. Because again, what happens if somebody
Look at your phone really quick.
Like, what happens?
Bite sports is technically bite sports is teaching my dog to bite a toy on command in my own
I know,
house.
but what happens if somebody has a jacket that looks very similar? I've seen people, walking down the street with puppy jackets, and they get bit by the working canines.
Oh, 100%. I'm not stating my opinion on it. I'm just saying, like, there's a huge distinction between the two, which is why it is stated in the ADA the way it is.
And I believe the correct statement is that your dog is not supposed to be trained in minimal protection.
Not supposed to be trained in protection, yes, which is
there's a difference between minimal and full. They're not allowed to be fully trained in protection, and they're also not allowed to do minimal.
No, I was going to say, I don't think they can do both either way, because a service dog cannot be aggressive, because if a first responder were to attend you while you are incapacitated and the dog was trained in protection, they can protect you and then go after the first responder. So that's why they made it a law to where no service dogs can work in protection for the safety of yourself and others around in case of a first responder or something happened like that. Because there is going to be a time when it, hopefully never, not, but there may be a time when, I should say, where you're going to be incapacitated. And if you cannot control the dog in that protection, that's done protection, the dog may protect you. And because it's strangers coming up and everything, and take it as an act of like the dog going to harm the individual, or the person going to harm the individual, and they're going to protect you and then harm the first responder. So that's why they didn't want service dogs to be trained that way. They want to be 100% neutral to anybody that comes up to them, just in case, it was a first responder or somebody trying to help you out with the disability in general in any sort of way.
I'll also say this. I think people also tend to forget just how fast paramedics can work. They throw down their gear, they respond to what's going on, and I've seen them put a needle in someone's arm in less than 2 seconds. Like that could be perceived as a credible threat in a dog's mind, because again, they're not understanding how this person's trying to help you. They just see someone sticking things in your body, and they're working real quick. It's very easy to get overstimulated and confused and scared, and then you've been trained that if something confuses you or it moves too fast, that you're trained to bite.
I also want to say really quick as well, if you are a handler and you decide to post on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anything that is a public social media platform of your dog, whether it is a retired, or like if it's a retired service dog, that's one thing, but if it's a working service dog or known as a working service dog and you are doing a bite sport or protection somewhat in there, that's I'm sorry, you shouldn't have a service dog then, in my opinion. Because here's the problem is that individuals are going to take that and think that protection dogs can be service dogs and then go right into where there's going to cause issues for other handlers
That's not
and
even
other.
mentioning. That's not even
Um,
mentioning the backyard bite work.
can I put in something on this? Sprinkle a little?
Yeah.
Okay. So even I firmly believe a service dog, a dog that has a good temperament for service work, should not have a good temperament for bite work or bite sports. It's contradictory.
I would agree. I would fully agree.
I would
Again,
agree
if your
too.
dog has the temperament for biting, put it in IGP. Put it through bite sports. If it has good service dog work, pick between the two.
Look, I can tell you right now, I know for a fact I know personally, and I have visually on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you want to, whatever platform, there are some handlers that do backyard bite work and they post it publicly for people to see. How are you supposed to be an advocate for a community when you are directly contradicting the entire purpose of your dog?
I fully agree.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. I've seen multiple freaking videos of handlers or trainers or handlers that are trainers or whatever the case that they are. They will sit there and say that their dog's a reliably trained service dog. Their dog does this and they're allowed to go into public. That's great. But then once you sit there and you post a video on a public platform of you doing bite sports, bite work, any type of biting of your service dog, I'm sorry, you should be disqualified as a service dog trainer right then and there. Or even that dog should be disqualified as a service dog. Because now you are adding on to the issue.
It's almost giving a dog, it's like with Max. I have to be very careful because somebody could say a word that sounds very familiar to the German word for attack. Okay? And that's why Max doesn't really, if we don't go in public, we walk in the neighborhood. I don't take him out anywhere, not even to Tractor Supply or pet friendly places. Because all it takes is that one mishearing or missaying.
Exactly. And I say that too. It's like, well, what if somebody with bad intentions knows you and sees that your dog is doing, service dog work? What happens if they happen to know their command words and they have ill intent for you? I feel like that's something that people don't, really talk about, because it's very rare.
Liability.
It is a liability. And again, a lot of people don't realize that when you have a protection dog, you have to have insurance.
And that's what I was about to say.
In some states.
I almost feel like it would be so much easier for handlers to get, and this is la la land, okay? This is just a thought. Handlers, there's no registration for a service dog. However, insurance providers can carry coverage for service animals, and you would then have to prove to that insurance company that it is in fact a service animal. If that's the course that needs to be taken to guarantee your guys' protection, again, it's an added fucking cost.
Yeah, and again, even in my state, I live in Texas. If you have a a professionally trained protection dog, PPD dog, you have to have some coverage because either that's homeowners insurance or that's liability insurance. You have to have some form of coverage. I've looked into this. I've asked police handlers, like, oh well, you take your working canine home with you. What kind of
You have to have,
requirements?
I know this very well because with Max, I cannot take Max anywhere off leash. He's not former police canine. He's former military. He was a boom boom dog. He sniffed out, boom booms. In order for him to be outside, he has to be on a leash, in a fence, or on a runner. He cannot roam freely. I cannot take him to dog parks. I cannot take him into public spaces. I cannot do that with him. I can take him to like a park if he's on a leash, an open park, but I can't take him to dog parks. I can't, none of that.
Yeah, and exactly. And again, it is an added cost. It is an extremely expensive added cost because again, and then on top of that, it's also potentially court fees as well. Because, in my state, if your dog makes a live bite and you go to court, you have to prove that your dog is trained to bite. If it's not trained to bite, you get penalized. I mean, Kaiten, am I wrong?
We have a 1-bite law in Texas.
Yeah, we have a 1-bite law in Texas. You play FAFO, you gonna FAFO. And I feel like people don't understand that. And in a lot of states, I want to say it's a vast majority of states have a 1-bite law. And if your dog, again, is not trained for protection and you do not have that coverage of insurance, you're gone. Your dog's gone. Bye-bye puppy. Bye-bye however long you poured into this dog. It's a responsibility.
It's actually only 16 states that have a 1-bite law.
Oh, 16? Oh.
I just Googled it. Only 16, which is very fucking sad.
That's very sad.
That's extremely sad.
I feel like it should be a 1-bite everywhere, because again, I feel like there's a lot of dogs that are given too many chances, and then there are dogs that are not given enough chances, but 1 bite is 1 bite. That's all it takes.
Well, I mean, yes and no, but also, like, I look at it as me being who I am, I want to know the circumstances,
Yeah, same here. Like, if there's a child taunting a dog or an adult that, smacked it,
right.
like...
It's not always aggression.
It's not always aggression.
It's not always aggression. Sometimes your dog is the victim of an aggressor and your dog reacts. I mean, just the same as a human would.
I feel like it would be
so much tolerance we can take.
I want to agree with two vets down in the comments saying first time is a 10-day quarantine. I want to say, first offense, I think it would be like a good thing to have like a 2-strike law. But again, it would be heavily situational dependent.
Well, I feel like if it's a service animal, Oh, if it's a service animal,
1 bite, one only. That's
bite.
it.
If it's a pet, I honestly feel like the owner, if their animal attacks, bites, scratches, I don't care what you do, pees on my tire, I don't care. Okay, you should have a fine. You're gonna pay as an adult, as a human. You are responsible for paying a fine, and then if it happens again, that's it.
I would agree. I'm of the very firm belief, maybe there should be like a 2-strike. First time, it's, your dog's put under quarantine, you're mandated to do some kind of classes or something like that. Your dog is, needs to go into aggression training, and behaviorists and whatnot. And,
right. If your dog is that important to you, then you should have no problem abiding by these.
I agree.
Requirements.
But then the second time, it's like, okay, well, there's a pattern here. We're not going to continue this pattern because what if next time, something even worse happens.
And that's sad because honestly, I feel like most of the time it's irresponsibility on the owner's part.
Yeah, I would agree. I would.
That's a very sad, sad thing to think about. How many animals are dismissed and discounted and put down or whatever simply because they have a crappy owner who doesn't actually invest time and love and all of the things that you should invest in your pets.
That's another reason I am such a huge advocate as well for ethical breeding, because also on top of that, you can get dogs that are wired wrong due to backyard breeding.
Like, look at Dalmatians.
I was about to say, let's talk about Dalmatians. That breed shouldn't even exist. Dalmatians are psychotic. They were a man-made breed simply for no purpose.
Well, no, they have a purpose. They were originally used as cart dogs. They would follow behind, carts and horses and stuff like that, and horses
how many
buggies,
children did
and the
they
fire
unalive in the
and the fire
process?
trucks. But no, the reason why they've become such a problem now is because of 101 Dalmatians. And again, this kind of goes into the celebrity status.
They were a problem then. If you actually look back, this is
Yeah, I
one
know,
area
but
where
they
I'm
got
well-versed.
significantly worse.
Dalmatians are psychotic and always have been. They are a breed that should not exist. They are not wired.
Then we can say the same thing about Malinois.
They are not. Dalmatians are psychotic.
But Tiffers, then we can say the same thing about Malinois.
But if
they're
you look
also
at
a
the
man-made
scans
breed.
of a Dalmatian versus a Malinois, they are completely different.
I mean, yeah, but at the same
Dalmatians
time,
are psychotic because
but the
they should not
thing is,
exist.
Tiffers, I've trained Malinois and I've trained Dalmatians. I'll take a Dalmatian over a Mal any day because Mals just come bitey.
I will never trust a Dalmatian. I will not.
I won't either. I won't either unless they've got good breeding in them. But unfortunately, because of 101 Dalmatians, they became excessively popular, and so people started backyard breeding bad genetics.
Well, Dalmatians shouldn't even exist if you look at how they were bred in the first place.
Well, I mean, you can say that about all dogs then.
That's why they're psychotic. Like,
but
Dalmatians.
We're going on a rant, guys, over something.
Me and B are Dalmatian versus not.
But no, I'm just saying, but if you look at all dog breeds, they're all man-made.
Let's get back on topic. But yeah, so where I'm at with controversies or myths about the service dog world, service dog community is what I try to instill into anyone that comes into my lives or anyone that comes in and talks or whatever the case is. We all need to do our own research within that, and asking somebody that may know a little bit more is okay. I get people constantly reaching out to me about, what they heard or something that's happened or whatever the case is, and if it's true or if it's a myth. And I don't mind doing that because that's why me and my team, we make sure that we talk about the laws and what is true and what is not true during my regular scheduled lives. And I really want to advocate to individuals to make sure that you know the differences between what is myth and what is true. And while communities, especially the service dog community, has their own guidelines and their own community rules, does not mean that's a rule that you have to follow. Everybody is different. I mean, if we were to follow everything that the community said, my son would not have a service dog. My son's service dog wouldn't have the tasks that he has when it comes to, I call it a behavioral disruption, basically, because it disrupts the behavior that he's doing. Same with, my service dog, being, a service dog. A lot of people in the service dog community don't feel like pits or pity or bull or bully breeds or any type of those should be service dogs either. If that was the case and we followed everything that everybody says in the community, none of us would probably have the dogs that we have today. So the big thing that I want everybody to learn that is listening into this podcast right now, if you are planning on getting a service dog, if you're planning on being in the service dog community, whatever the case is, do your own research and talk to an individual that may have more knowledge to know what is true and what isn't true, and still do your research at the end of the day. Because even though I've done this for over 10 years and have so much experience and so much knowledge of the service dog world and the community and the laws and everything, I don't know every single thing. I don't. So having you do your own research is going to be vital as a service dog handler or in the community in general. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add before we get on to the Q&A?
No, I'm good. I had a question, which I can ask y'all privately.
Okay. Katen, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Bumble?
Nah.
All right, so before we get into the Q&A, I am going to end this part for the podcast so that way we can just edit this part out and everything. So with that being said, is we're going to do our outros and then we're going to get into the Q&A. So if you have a question, either comment them now and we will open up boxes if you want to come in a box so you can answer any questions that you have that we've said over the live or just questions about service dogs in general. So if you want to follow me on platforms, my first platform is going to be on TikTok, which is Service Dog Educator. Go on ahead and follow me. I do lives Monday through Friday, just regular service dog education, advocacy, and all of that. That is my main channel. We also have the podcast channel right below Bumble right here called Beyond the Leash Podcast. You're going to get all your information about the podcast. There's links in the bio for the YouTube channel, to the Instagram channel, the Facebook channel, for the podcast in general as well. All of that's going to be linked in there. So make sure you guys follow the page, follow me, and you'll get more information about it. Katen, do you want to say any your social media platforms?
Hello?
Katen. Okay, there. I guess they're taking a call really quick. Bumble, do you have any platforms you want to say out?
Other than just here on TikTok? Nope. I'm all good.
All right. Tehers, do you have any social medias that you want to share
No,
out?
don't find me. Don't look for me. Don't message me.
All right. Katen, do you have any social medias that you want to tag in really quick?
Just my TikTok, Katen K9, Katen period K_9.
All right. So make sure that if you guys haven't already, go and follow them on all their social media platforms.
Have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong.